The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys!
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com.
We were on a break!
With Ambar Garcia, Brian Broaddus, Nick Harris, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Wednesday, January 29th, 2025, Season 20, Episode number 101. Welcome to the latest edition of The Break. We are live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. We are presented by LG. LG is the world's #1 OLED TV brand for 11 years and counting. See why at lg.com/OLED Evo. It is a crazy week around here at the Star. A lot going on, more happening this morning. We're going to get you caught up on all that, give you our thoughts on all of the things that have transpired from the world of coaching here at the Star over the last several days. Let's start first with the news that broke here this morning. Before we went on the air, Will McClay, Vice President of Player Personnel, has been signed to a multi-year extension. My question for you guys, I'll say, I've been on the record as saying, even throughout last season, that the most important signing the Cowboys needed to make this offseason was Will McClay, based on how they do business. If you're not going to be as active in free agency, then it is imperative that you hit on the draft. And I think looking at his record, everything isn't perfect, which you know, Brian, in the scouting world, there is no such thing as perfect. But he's as close to it as I think you can get in the NFL. And if you're going to rely on that, I think you got to have Will McClay. What's your thought on the re-signing?
Will McClay is a huge part of what the Dallas Cowboys do overall. When you look at personnel, and I've talked with Will about this before, he likes to call it the triangle, where, you know, he feels like he's in the middle of the triangle. And when you have the Jones family at the top, the coaches on one side and the scouts on the other, then Will has to navigate. You have to be almost a diplomat when you're in that chair with the Dallas Cowboys. You know, others I've worked with, I've seen, with Larry Lacewell, and how he was a guy that people could come into his office, close the door, talk to him, make feelings feel better, encourage. That's something you have to be able to do. It takes a special person to navigate the triangle, because somebody's always mad at you. The coaches feel like the scouts are messing them over. The scouts are mad at the Joneses because they're taking time off to do something else. And, everybody's always mad at somebody, and so that's where Will does a great job of making sure that they come to a consensus, the way their board's set, that everybody in that room feels good about the pick. Your feelings are going to get hurt. Will does a good job of saying, hey, listen, there'll be other battles to fight. We'll fight another time. Here's where we need your help here. So it's really like anything like in government, where the majority whip stands up there and gets everybody riled up, and then you have others that kind of get the votes together and stuff. But it's very important, and he's a very good evaluator. He is an outstanding evaluator. He knows the division. He's built teams that have been capable, that have won the division. They just got to get over the hump of getting a team that built to win the conference. That's the thing that they have to do right now.
Yeah, he has the right kind of personality to be on that side of the building and deal with the people that he deals with. He has really good relationships, and he's been here for forever now, it feels like, but he's shown that he's done a great job. I still will give him crap, though, about that Rico Gathers one, but
You're never gonna
you gotta keep people humble around here.
You're not gonna let that one go.
No, he's shown the work that he's done speaks for itself. So he has a great history, and when you talk about the free agency and the lack of money to spend because of the cap, you talk about developing talent and the ability that they've had. Of course, they've had misses, but when you look at undrafted free agents, when you look at even those late round picks, that sometimes they are able to find gold in those late rounds, and that's not always very easy to do. That's a big gamble, and I think they've hit more than they've missed.
Well, yeah, a lot of their cap has gone to re-signing some of their guys. That's and you don't.
That tells you a lot.
You don't re-sign your guys if you don't draft them.
Yep.
That's something that's really, really, really big here. You know,
If you draft wrong ones.
yeah, and I'll be interested to see, though, because Stephen Jones talked about things that they might need to do differently in free agency, and you wonder if that is in fact going to be about, is Will going to have to navigate, listen, maybe we're not going to re-sign some of our own. Maybe we're going to let some of our own walk and then look at some other. You know, your money, it's when it goes somewhere, it's going to either go to your own players or someone else's players. I just wonder if Will's going to have to navigate something new if that's the change that they're going to make.
Yeah, I'm going to throw this thought out to you guys, and I'm interested to hear what you think. It's just my own personal opinion. But the fact that this happens today with Will getting the new deal, it says to me that the hiring that has happened before this, Brian Schottenheimer, I think was also important part of retaining Will. I think that a lot of things that the Cowboys have done here are about making sure they create the right environment for Will to want to be here, because I do think Will has lots of options. Let's be clear. There are lots of teams out there that I think would be very happy to have Will McClay heading their personnel department. That being said, I think that a lot of this, at the very least, he was good with the decision, if not even more involved in that decision. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, and that's where, I mean, Will even mentioned it. I believe you got caught up with him at the Senior Bowl yesterday, and very good work by your guys down there to get that done. You know, he was talking about being part of the interviewing process. You know, it's something and that's something that every general manager goes through. You know, you want to be able to, you know, being a part of the process will make you probably even a better general manager down the road, because you're now the experiences, the questions, the reactions. You want to see the reaction of the guy or gal that you're interviewing and see what, you know, how they respond, and that helps you. So, yeah, I think the Cowboys are doing more things for Will to try and you know, maybe we'll see a change so soon when it comes to how much more authority or power Will McClay has in what the daily decisions are with the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah,
he's a very respectable voice around here, and even for the Jones. I mean, Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones, they respect him a whole lot. And hearing what he said during the over there, him saying that he was part of the process.
Yeah.
Just hearing that comment, it doesn't really change much, but it's like a plus sign that you feel like, oh, okay. And it's good to hear that he was on board with it and involved in that process. And that tells you a lot. And we've heard, and I know his son is about to be out of high school and go to college. And it was a big milestone where this could open up the opportunity for him to go somewhere else. And potentially be a GM, and he's very much capable of doing that. And he's kind of, people think Jerry Jones does absolutely everything around here, and it's not like that. He has a group of people around him that help him make a lot of those decisions. So I think it makes me feel a little bit better to hear that he was involved in those things because of the respect that I have for him as well.
Yeah. It's starting to make me feel a lot more like this decision was, you know, whatever everybody thinks of the process or whatever, it does make me think that this was a well thought out decision just from the standpoint of all the people that were involved in it that ultimately felt good about this decision. And I think when you're talking about a team, there is something to having buy-in from the quarterback. There is something to having buy-in from the guy who heads up personnel. Like, those voices will also be the same voices that you don't want. Brian, you know how this world goes. You don't want to be months into the season and you got these folks being like, man, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. Like, what, you know what I'm saying? So I think there is something to that buy-in that comes from those folks, because those are people that are primarily going to have to deal with this guy the most.
No, you're right about that. You know, the buy-in, I think, to be honest with you, I think the most important thing the thing that pushed Schottenheimer over the goal line was the support from the quarterback. I really do believe.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, when you sat down, you had several candidates. You interviewed, you know, Dak Prescott. I think it's no coincidence that Schottenheimer's 4 years are tied to the 4 years of Dak Prescott. I think there's no coincidence to that at all. I think that that's something that they've thought out, and now it's going to be up to Brian Schottenheimer to hire the type of staff that's you know, able to, you know, there's going to be a lot of challenges ahead. with this roster. There really are going to be some challenges. So they're going to have to kind of figure some things out. And hopefully with some of the additions that they're going to make here in the future, that'll be something positive going forward.
That's an interesting. I actually heard you mentioning a similar thing on the air when you were on 105.3. And I was, sometimes I'll text you, but I didn't want to text you in the middle of your show. I know you got things to do. But I had a question for you because I've heard other people say this. Oh, this is going to be a rebuild type situation, or they got a lot of things they got to handle.
Yeah.
And it made me start wondering, is it as big of a challenge as we think? Because I look at I thought of it like this. If you take the roster right now that's in Washington that just got to that game against the Philadelphia Eagles, and you compare it player for player to the Cowboys roster, which one do you think's better?
Probably I think 2 years ago, the Cowboys roster was better.
Right now?
Right now, I don't think it's as better. I don't think it is.
You don't?
I don't.
Because when I look at it and say
you're not better at quarterback. You're wide receiver. I think you're probably a wash there on the wide receiver. The offensive line, with the way it's currently. I mean, the defensive line. I think you look at the defensive tackles, the linebackers. Your secondary is probably better if all your guys are healthy right now.
Right, but that's what I guess when you went through that. The offensive line, I would say the Cowboys' offensive line is at least as good, if not better. That Washington offensive line they were having some problems.
Well,
outside of the fact that Jaden Daniels could move, they would have had a lot more problems.
Yeah, but what they found ways to move the ball, run the ball, throw the ball, win games. Yeah, I mean that your offensive line didn't. So I mean, you got better as the season went along. It wasn't good enough. I mean, your left tackle, your left tackle who you drafted. We're so accustomed to plug and play here, and it didn't. It just didn't plug and play like it should. You had to put in somebody else. Your right tackle wasn't good the first 6-7 weeks of the season. Your right guard is a Hall of Famer who injury and all that. It went south on you really quick. Yep. The center was getting experience. I think he got better as the year. Where your best player is your left guard. And would they absolutely love to have your left guard? I think so too. We'll see the center. I mean, you got rid of Biotis, and I wanted to get rid of Biotis.
Right. Yeah, I think we all did.
I think we all want to move on. I think BB did.
No.
Okay.
I think BB did some good things for you this year. But to me, there's 2 years ago, I would say this is why I say I think Dallas might be worse.
Okay.
And we saw and purge is the wrong word because purge sounds like you're getting rid of something, but they had a lot of players that left. A lot of depth.
Right.
A lot of depth.
A lot of depth. Yeah.
And this is where I'm pointing the finger at myself because I'm thinking, oh, they'll be fine. They lost a lot of depth. I think the same thing is about to happen. So I think you're about to lose 2 years of depth.
And you're factoring that in versus just where they are right now.
Yeah, I am. I'm looking at I'm looking at the 53. Does Dallas have some, would I love to have, their running backs stuff? Yeah, I think him, Rico, I mean, it's kind of the same kind of, deal. I mean, you could wash throughout the thing. The quarterback, I think, is a different story. And I think the quarterback is better because he's more mobile. Yep. That's and so now you're gonna have to live with Dak Prescott potentially not being as mobile. I mean, these injuries, we don't know. I mean, we haven't seen Dak. Ambrose, I was asking Dak, I'd like to see him use his legs a little more. I'd like to see, maybe he is what he is, and you can win with that. We've seen to Detroit, they don't have a guy that's running around all over the place. You throw the ball from the pocket, you can win a lot of games. But there's one of the reasons why I think they brought Brian Schottenheimer in here too is for Dak is to create an offense where he doesn't have to be a mobile guy, that he can throw from the pocket, and they have some ways of doing that. But I just feel like that Dallas is going to have another massive loss of Oso Digizua. I hope they prove me wrong. Oso Digizua, Golston, Lewis, just go down the list. There's 20-some-odd guys, and they're going to lose. There goes more depth. And are you going to be able to, with draft picks, replace? Yeah, you're going to get some help. College free agency, sure. They love to spend money on college free agents. But it's going to be about having to go out in the pro department, and with Will McClay at the helm of that, they're going to have to go out and find more guys like the Carl Lawsons and guys like that played for you at a very high level. Yeah, because their roster is going to get, in my opinion, get gutted again because of some of the cap problems that they have. And I shouldn't say problems, but the way they've spent their cap, they don't have enough to keep all those guys in place. 2 years ago, they had them all in place. 2 years ago, they were the second overall seed in the tournament.
Yep.
Same position the Philadelphia Eagles sat in this year. Same position that they sat in this year. And then they didn't get it done. See, that's 2 years ago. They should have got it done.
Yep.
They didn't get it done. And now you're looking uphill at teams, I think, ahead of you. You talk about Philadelphia and then also the Commanders.
Yeah, if I'm comparing those two, the Cowboys and the Commanders, I look at that Commanders team and I really think outside of the change at quarterback, which I think that's the biggest key, their quarterback. Changing quarterback, changing the coach.
Yeah.
Frankie Louvu, Dorrance Armstrong. That's the difference between Washington this year and Washington last year. That's the difference, right?
Yeah.
And when you look at those players and that coach, I think ultimately, again, it comes down really to the coach and the quarterback. And changing that made the difference for them
Cliff
this year.
Kingsbury being good too, yeah.
But going from where they were 2 years ago
to
where they were this last year, and I guess that's the point I'm making. In today's NFL, in my opinion, there's no such thing as it has to be a long, drawn-out rebuild to get back.
It
really doesn't.
It really doesn't.
We've seen it. We saw it with the Chargers this year. They actually lost players, but because they had a different coach who had a different mindset, a different game plan, they actually found themselves in a much better situation than they were the year before. So I don't know that it's necessarily that it has to be a long, drawn-out thing. The question is, did you hire the right coach?
Yeah.
Does he have the right plan to get them back to where they were and beyond in a quick amount of time? That's really the key.
The real key to this, and very well spoken on your part, the real key to is, do you have the patience to do this? Do you have the patience to do it? And I mean, there's going to probably be some bumps along the road.
Yeah.
And is the fan base, is everybody going to, and they don't care what I think. Or they really, I can't say they care what the fans think or anything, but I do believe, though, that this thing is going to take some patience, and there's going to be some growing pains with the head coach. And are you willing to say, okay, hey, we're getting better, we'll be fine here? But that's where I think that's the thing that kills a lot of programs is folks don't have the patience to see it through. If it's a 2-year rebuild, a 3-year rebuild, you're right. You could draft and you can. But the thing that's interesting and just about the Commanders, new coach, quarterback, look like they've got that in place.
Yep.
$86 million in cap space.
So they can build on it.
Yeah, they don't have to go play with players that they got them to the divisional to the championship round. They don't have to play with some of those guys anymore.
Yep.
They don't have to play with the nickel corner they had. They didn't have to play with a safety that they don't want. They don't have to play with guys because they could go out, and that's their advantage now for being so bad. And not re-signing a lot of their own guys and not drafting well enough. They have cap space, but they hit on the quarterback. They hit on the coach.
And now they get him cheap for another 4 years.
And now they get him cheap. And so now this is where I'm just going to be real honest with everybody out there. This roster right here for the Commanders is going to be the worst roster that quarterback plays with in his career.
That's fair.
That roster is only going to get
one
better.
that they had in 2024.
The one that they're playing with right now, that's going to be the worst roster this kid plays with because they've got the cap space, the ability to draft. Now we'll see if they could draft, and they've hit on. They had a ton of picks last year. They were at the top of the board. They hit on some guys, the corner, the quarterback. They've got some pieces in place, and they did a good job of signing some guys. Frankie Louvu, as you mentioned, is a great sign for them. So this is going to be probably the worst roster that quarterback plays for.
And then the question becomes,
can you match that?
Yeah, not only that, but the question becomes for Washington, can their quarterback keep that up? Because we saw in Houston, year one looked great, year two a little shaky.
Right.
Is he able to, once the league starts to say, okay, this is what he likes to do, this is what he doesn't like to do, does he evolve his game as well?
Yeah.
We saw that with Dak in his rookie year. Like his rookie year, everything seemed to be working really, really great.
Right.
And then the next year is like, not perfect. Like there's some things that you're going to have to work on in order to get better because the league's going to figure out some things about you. Yeah. All right, we're going to take our first break. We will come back. Let's talk about this Brian Schottenheimer hire and the press conference, what you thought about the press conference, anything that may have stood out to you. We'll be back. DallasCowboys.com radio.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the Playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP.
Don't put off getting your oil change, Dallas. Take 5 Oil Change, a proud partner of the Cowboys, is faster than you think. They're so fast, you don't even have to get out of your car. You can take advantage of Take 5's Stay in Your Car 10-minute oil change at any of their locations across the Dallas area. And remember, at Take 5, you stay in your car because they're faster than you think. That means you won't even have time to show off your best touchdown celebration. Take 5, the official oil change of the Dallas Cowboys.
From the field to the festivities, Lucchese embodies the essence of luxury and tradition. Handcrafted with meticulous precision, each pair offers unmatched comfort and style. Stand tall while you're tailgating or cheering in the stands with the Dallas Cowboys collection by Lucchese. Shop the collection today at the Lucchese store at the Star in Frisco or online at lucchese.com. Lucchese, the official boot of the Dallas Cowboys and Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders.
How do you tell the world about all the great gifts in the Yeti store? Let her rip, Troy.
All right, folks, let's get started with the Yeti French Press. Enjoy coffee that stays hot for hours in a French press. 34 ounce for you, 6'4" for the cruise. The Yeti French Press. Up next, waterproof bags. Bags waterproof. Submersible waterproof doubles. Waterproof bags. World's mostly water, so get a waterproof Yeti bag. Do I smell something cooking? Oh, new cast iron skillets made to be passed down like Mama's recipes. Take a steak, cornbread, cobbler's pot pie, and potatoes next level with 3 sizes of Yeti cast iron skillets.
Gear, gifts, and product experts. Visit the Yeti store on McKinney Street and at South Lake Town Square today.
Back to the break.
LG OLED Evo is the best TV in the game, but don't take our word for it. Digital Trends said the LG OLED G4 has the best picture quality they've ever seen. See it for yourself at lg.com/OLED Evo.
Welcome back. It is the second segment of the break live from SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. This segment brought to you by blockchain.com. All right, let's talk about Brian Schottenheimer. He had his opening press conference as new Dallas Cowboys head coach. First, let's just get some thoughts on that press conference. Was there anything that popped out to you about the press conference? Any impressions that you were left with as you listened to the Brian Schottenheimer or Jerry and Steven talk during the press conference?
It's weird talking about it again because we did that show.
The emergency show? Yeah.
The emergency podcast.
Emergency podcast.
Oh, my goodness.
You guys weren't at lunch when it happened?
No. Well, there were people that were moving around. It was like, oh, wow. Okay, so let's pull everybody back together as usual.
There we go.
You know how it goes.
No, but I'll kind of repeat myself a little bit. I loved everything that I heard from him. He's a very, very likable guy. And if you listen to the whole press conference, I feel like some people probably didn't even care to listen to it or stick around through the whole thing. But if you actually go and watch it, you're going to find most likely than not liking the guy as well because of the way he speaks and the kind of compassion and like emotions that he shows. Again, the support that he had from the players, a few players showed up. Some of the staff members showed up as well to give support. Dak Prescott was sitting there too, giving him that support as well. And just like you mentioned, Derek, he was a big part of this hire as well. So everything was very, very beautiful, very nice and cute and sweet and tears here and there. And I loved it. But at the same time, we got to wait and see what actually happens because this is a brand new position for him. He's never done this before, although he has like 25 years of experience in the NFL. He had a dad that was very respectable around, and he's grown all his life around that. And he mentioned in there, he feels like this is his moment. This is the moment for him to come in, and it helps that there's that continuity. I can never say that word, but he's been around. He knows everything around the building and the players. There's that relationship there. And I like the fact, and I said that on that other show, even though Jerry mentioned that sometimes he bit his tongue in meetings and things like that, it gives me the hope that the fact that he had to bite his tongue and knowing his position at the time, sometimes it's not always the right moment or your place to be talking or saying some things. But that gives me the hope that he was able to see things that bother him or that he was not okay with, and that he has a different vision that will be better for this team overall, and especially the offense. So I'm eager to see what he brings to the table, but it's hard to tell at the moment because he has nothing to show for that, because he's never been in the head coach position. But everyone supports him. Everyone likes him around here. So let's kind of, it's one of those that, you're rooting for the guy, but you got to wait and see what actually happens because there's no history there.
Yeah, a couple things. And Ambar, you're absolutely right about that. The thing that, I mean, he learned a lesson I didn't learn when I worked here. He learned to keep his mouth shut, and I didn't learn that. And that's a problem. If you go in there and you're always fighting, for things or trying to fight for things, sometimes you're going to get in trouble doing that. You're going to be considered as like, okay, why am I always fighting with this guy? And, and that has to be your hope if you're a Cowboy fan, that there were some things that he saw. Now, what makes me feel worse about it is the fact that maybe that Mike McCarthy, and again, this is just a thought, if he's biting his lip talking about things, were there things that Mike just completely dismissed? Were there ideas that Schottenheimer had during the season and Mike, and this is not pile on Mike time. I mean, I'm just saying, when somebody says something, when the general manager says bite his lip, I'm thinking, okay, there's some ideas that he had. There were times when the Jones family were watching tape with the coaches and they asked a question of why this, and and really Mike gave an answer. And in other words, Schottenheimer might have been sitting there and thinking, yeah, we could have done this differently. We could have thought about and then but then he bit his tongue, bit his lip, whatever you want to say.
You're not going to show up your boss.
You're not going to show up your boss. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so, but it makes me ill if I was working in the front office and one of our coaches had an idea or maybe to make us better, but he was dismissed. And it got to the point where he was dismissed that he couldn't say something.
Yeah.
That should hurt you in your soul.
Yeah.
About that was not piling on Mike McCarthy, but was he so just no, that it made other coaches not want to be that way, want to step up and say, like I did in scouting, hey, we need to sign this guy. Brian, sit down and shut up. Yeah. I've heard that. So, he learned. I didn't. He obviously closed his door, took down his notes, and this is where it circled back for him. This is why a guy like that gets this job, because he remembers all the days of sitting in that meeting and watching Jerry and Steven go, now, why are we doing this? Tell me why. What was the thought here? Why are we trying to block what? And then, then what Schotty's able to do is he walks in and goes, remember the time against Atlanta?
Yeah.
When we were trying to throw the ball and we couldn't really, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
He's able to go back and remind the Joneses of all the things that he thought they could have changed and got better. And that's why I think he got this job. Because him being in the building and knowing and kind of having an understanding of how this all works. I'm not just talking about how the team worked. I'm talking about what was going on in the coaching staff this year.
Yeah.
When you keep your mouth shut, you can, and you're given a chance to unload, you will do it.
But I will say this too. And again, I want to be clear, just like you said, it's not pile on Mike Day, because I think Mike McCarthy was a good coach here.
He was.
He was a good coach. But it made me question, as I heard that, it made me question the kind of culture that had been created there.
Yeah.
Because if you ever have a situation in a work environment where people feel like they can't really be transparent about what they're thinking and feeling, that says to me the culture isn't a true collaborative environment. Right. And you want a true collaborative environment.
And they thrive on that here with Will McClay.
Exactly,
we just talked about it.
Right. Yeah. So if you got a coach who is the offensive coordinator that's having to bite his tongue with the head coach, because my assumption it wasn't biting his tongue with Jerry, because Jerry wouldn't have said it if it was biting his tongue with him.
Right.
It says to me that maybe the culture wasn't one that valued the opinions
Fostered-
of everybody on
fostered
the
opinions.
on the staff to feel free to be able to say, hey, man, I disagree with this. I think this is a better way to do it. And people would actually listen and say, you know what, let's give that a try.
Yeah.
And then you go back and try to marry that up with the results. And it makes me say, we remember 2023.
Yeah.
And we remember how it was going in the first part of the season.
Yeah.
We remember about the conversations that were had and the across-the-hall meetings that happened in that bye week.
Yeah.
And then the changes that were made. And we didn't see that in 2024.
Yeah.
And that's where we're left to make some assumptions here. But it does make me question what was the culture among the coaches for him not to feel like he could speak up and say, this is where I think we should be doing whatever.
I share that sentiment with you guys as well, but just to and not to justify this, but just to give a different perspective, as human nature, you look at the way that Green Bay game ended. There's so much pressure on you. This is your last year on your contract. So with him calling the plays, I feel like maybe, and I'm just saying maybe, you go into this mode where you feel like you have to take everything, like you have more control of your destiny, just listening and worrying about yourself, and you think you can figure it out by yourself. And maybe because of the pressure that year brought, the last year and all of that and what you're trying to do, it prevented him, and maybe he wasn't doing it on purpose, but maybe that prevented him to allowing other opinions to come in and just be like, no, I know what I gotta do. I know how to do it, and like try to do it himself. That's just something that maybe that year was unique in that way, where it maybe prevented some of those opinions to come through.
Most times I would agree with you on that. That's a selfish play on Mike McCarthy's part if he did that, because the rest of his coaches were on one-year deals too. This should have been, it's us.
Again, this is not what happened. I don't know. we're just
yeah, this is all assumptions.
But I'm just saying that's very selfish on Mike McCarthy's part. If he takes on all the thing like, I'm going to do it my way because if I get fired, I'm going out on my own. You know, that's a very selfish way of looking at things, especially when you have all your other coaches on. You know, it should be, hey guys, listen, they really don't believe in us right now. Okay, we got to find a way to pull this thing together. Ideas. You know, that's where it should have been. Hey, we're going to survive this together. We're not going to let it just fall on me. Yeah, ultimately he is the head coach, and but everybody else in that room was on one-year deals too.
And also, you made him your coordinator yourself, that. You know, you brought him into the staff for a reason.
Sure.
So it's. I mean, at this point, we just got to look forward to the future. But it's a lot of things, and I agree with you. It's definitely selfish in that way if that was the case. But always remember, we're all humans.
We're just talking here.
But we're all humans too, and things like that come into nature.
Listen,
and
if our show here relied on us, we're all on one-year deals. But I'm going to take over the show because I don't think Derek's doing a good job, and that kind of thing. That's selfish on me, because it's all of us. We're either going to survive this, because at the end of it, if you do survive it, it's even you just kind of bring everybody together, and now you work on other things. But if it falls apart, then you can look at each other, guys, we did the best we could. It just wasn't good enough. And you walk out of here heads high and that way, instead of, a coach having to feel like Derek's talking about with the culture. You never want. Working with you, Derek, I always felt like I could walk in and tell you how effed up something was. And you would listen. But then you would tell me like, hey, but you got to think about it this way. But at least you gave me the opportunity to maybe make change. And that's.
He'll ask you, is there a reason?
Well, no, I mean that you have to be able to we always laugh when somebody, I have an open door policy. When you really have an open door policy, you get things done.
Yeah.
Because people feel responsible for how the product looks.
Yep.
And so Mike if he took it on thinking, hey, I'm going to go out my way, then shame on him for that.
Well, I will say this. If there's one thing about that press conference that made me have some hope that this thing can work, is when I heard him talk about what his specific traits are and what he brings to the job. And he talked about words like he's a collaborative guy. He is a guy. It's going to be all of us
they
doing
love
this
that.
together.
Yeah.
Him talking about how good of a communicator he is. And we've heard that from other people around the building, how good of a communicator he is. He's a bridge builder. He brings people together. Like when you start talking about all those things, have nothing whatsoever to do with X's and O's.
Yeah.
That's a whole different ballgame, right? But sometimes I think what gets lost in looking for a head coach are these skills, because these skills are about leadership and leading those men into a game and ultimately leading them to victory. It's about more than just the X's and O's. It has a lot to do with all these other things of building that cohesive culture where everybody feels like they're heard, everybody's contributing, and then everybody has a part in it, right? When you make sure that everybody's being heard, now they have a vested interest in really seeing it through because they know their voice is a part of that as well. And so I love that about it. We'll see if the X's and O's work. We'll see if he ends up being a great head coach. I don't think anybody really knows right now, but it certainly gave me some hope listening to him during that press conference. All right, we're going to take our final break. We'll come back, talk about some assistants who have been hired here over the last couple of days. We'll do that when we come back. DallasCowboys.com radio.
If you can't be at the stadium, there's no better way to watch your Cowboys than on an LG OLED Evo TV. That's because everything you see is more lifelike. Every play, every hit. I mean, you might as well be on the sidelines. That's how clear it is. It's all thanks to LG's legendary technology. Perfect black, over 8.3 million self-lit pixels. No one comes close. LG OLED Evo is the best TV in the game for a reason. See for yourself at lg.com/OLED Evo.
They say champions are remembered, but legends are never forgotten. United Ag and Turf offers a winning lineup of John Deere equipment built to tackle any challenge on and off the field. Legendary John Deere tractors, combines, residential mowers, commercial mowers, compact construction equipment, Gator utility vehicles, and a full line of golf and sports turf equipment. United Ag and Turf, the official Ag and Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com to find a location near you.
If you shout, "How about them Cowboys?" you have that undeniable passion that's the heart of Cowboys Nation. And if you like to drink Dr. Pepper, you love the unique blend of its 23 flavors. Together, your one-of-a-kind fandom paired with the one-of-a-kind taste of a delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper is the game day lineup that can't be beat. Better yet, gather your Cowboys and Dr. Pepper fan friends to watch the next game and crack open a delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper for everyone. The wins will be even tastier. It's a pepper thing.
And we're going to overtime.
Erica, how much have I spent on concessions?
For questions about their money, Dallas Cowboys fans can turn to Erica, the virtual financial assistant in the Bank of America mobile banking app. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/Erica by your side. Bank of America, official bank of the Dallas Cowboys. Erica responses may vary. Digital tools featured require downloading the mobile banking app and may only be available on select mobile devices. Erica is a mobile feature only available in the English language. Your chat may be recorded and monitored for quality assurance. Message and data rates and additional terms may apply. Bank of America, N.A., member FDIC.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Back to the break.
AT&T, connecting changes everything.
Welcome back. Final segment of the break live from SWBC Mortgage Studios here at the Star. Let's talk about some assistants who have been hired. New defensive coordinator who is a guy that's been here before, a guy that we're familiar with. Matt Eberflus joins the staff. Give me your thoughts on the hire.
I'll tell you what, knowing Flus for when I was with you guys with DallasCowboys.com when he came in, we remember him part of the Rob Ryan administration. Mm-hmm. And then
linebackers coach, right?
Yeah, when Rob left, then Rod Marinelli took over, and or was that Monty Kiffin? It was Rod Marinelli. And
yeah,
Kiffin.
I don't think Kiffin was a defensive
coordinator. Never. But he was. When he here,
he was here.
Yeah,
well, you should know.
Yeah,
I'm trying on your lap.
I was
not on your lap.
On my shoulder. I was typing a report. Got beat in Kansas. No, got beat in Kansas City. I'm typing a report like Monty's defense played well. Yeah.
Did he slobber on you?
It was a little wet over there, and I just kept typing. I didn't care. But yeah, he. Flus was part of that. He was kind of a holdover guy. So he was like initially an odd front or a 3-4 front guy.
Yeah.
And then he came in and he, worked with Rod, and Rod really, really, really liked him. And so then he started to learn some of the 4-3 principles, the stuff, the Tampa 2 stuff that was made famous by that crew. And so he's kind of developed that as his repertoire. That's his,
so he's going to be a 4-man front.
He's going to be a 4-man front. Yeah. And so, but everywhere he's been, he creates turnovers. His teams have always been really good scoring defense-wise. There's things like that to me. Is he going to gamble as much as, say, we saw from Zimmer? Mm-hmm. Probably not.
As far as blitzing
and things like that. But he's a really, really, really sound coach and very respected around the league. Talking to some offensive coordinators that I know, they're like, listen, hard guy to prepare for. Good. Because he's going to put up he's going to take things away from you. And so, that's going to be the challenge. This defense, we'll see how the draft works. I have a feeling you're going to see a lot of these players for the 2025 season on defense as starters that are going to be young players. I mean, rookie players, second-year players, when it's a shame you don't have the Overshones and people like that, but they need Carson to play well. They're going to need some guys to really, really step up. And that's going to be the challenge, because sometimes you get a coaching change and the defense is a veteran defense. This is going to be a new coach with a lot of different personnel. Mm-hmm. The guys you're going to have, like Micah, Hooker, Wilson, Diggs is not going to play probably the early part of the season. So you're going to have to kind of figure out. But a lot of young guys are going to have to play on this defense. Leofau. Yeah. So that's kind of where you're
as
at.
far as the young guys.
Yeah. And then plus whatever defensive tackles you draft, Mozzie, whatever defensive tackles or edges or linebackers or safeties or corners. I mean, take your pick. You could help this defense in a lot of different ways. So new coordinator, likely a big turnover on defense when we get to Oxnard.
Yep.
Yeah, a huge change, but I like his repertoire. Mm-hmm. He has he's been top 10 in takeaways in 6 of the 7 years that he was as defensive coordinators. So that's a huge thing. Yeah. And also one of the other things that he's been known for is being able to stop the run. And that's something that the Cowboys, we all consistently talk about that. Yeah. You need to be able to stop the run. So
that wasn't always that wasn't always a Rod Marinelli thing. It was always run up the field and get gashed, kind of a thing.
But when you talk about him and look him up, those are the two things that pop out is just the takeaways and defending the run. So 2 huge things that you definitely want to see in your defense. But like you said, Brian, I think it's going to be potentially challenging at the beginning, trying to get everyone on the same page because of the moving targets that you have, all the guys that are coming back from injury, then acquiring whoever you're going to get during free agency, figuring that out, and then the younger talent, trying to get everyone on the same page and pace. So, but I'm sad to see Zimmer go, because I did want to see a second year from him. But at the same time, I think this guy seems to be a good hire for the Cowboys.
And the interesting thing is, it's going to be the 3rd year now that the defense will be having a new system, and that's always something you keep an eye on. It's one of the things I think why the Joneses have always talked about continuity is because it is hard when we saw it last year at the beginning of the year for the defense. As the season wore on, they got better. But at the beginning of the season, it was tough. And it's tough to get a defense moving in a different direction, doing different things when you're asking them to do different things and figuring out who's capable of doing those different things and who's not, and then trying to make the defense kind of morph around them in that way. So we'll see how that goes. Let's real quick before we end the show, Nick Sorensen added as the special teams coach. Yeah. What do we know about him?
All right. Talked to my gang of 7 guys. There's several of my guys, general managers, people like that, player personnel guys that have worked with this guy. So it's kind of it helped me a lot. Earlier you said about Brian Schottenheimer being a people person, something he takes a lot of pride in, a trait he talks about, his ability to connect with people. when I asked people about Nick Sorensen, he was a first-year coordinator, defensive coordinator with the 49ers. It didn't go well. They struggled with health. The team just, the offense, it just was not good enough. And and he fell on the sword for that one. For their, somebody had to go and they moved on. But they didn't want him to leave the organization. They were willing to kind of put him in another spot and keep him around. They felt that much. They liked him that much. But everybody that I talked to about him was talking about what a good coach he really is. And you got to be able to connect. And that was one of the things that my guys were telling me. He goes, this guy will come into a room and he goes, the front office will love him. The players will love him because his ability to interact and connect with people. Mm-hmm. And as a special teams coach, you have to you're coaching the whole team. You're not just coaching a position. Yep. You're coaching the field goal block, the field goal team, the punt return, the kickoff return, the kick. You're coaching it all. So you have to interact with all 53 players. Mm-hmm. So for this guy to come in, and I heard nothing but positive things about him. But the negative things were that, like, hey, might have been a little bit over his head on the defensive.
And that was his first time as defensive.
And that's
he had been special teams coordinator.
Exactly. Yeah. They took a chance that maybe this guy could be it. But everything about him as a coach, as a person, and as a person that connects with other people. And I think that's what Brian Schottenheimer's trying to do. I think he's going to try and build a staff of guys or gals that connect with the team, and that they can have that as they go through these things. So very, very positive about him in that regard, positive him about a coach. But the negative was probably over his head when it came to the defensive coordinator stuff.
Which he won't be doing here.
He won't be doing here.
Yep. All right. That's a wrap. We will be back next week. I think maybe we'll be at a point where we'll be done with all the breaking news, and we might actually be able to.
I might not be. I don't think I'm with you.
Oh yeah, you're not with us. You got Super Bowl.
I'm at the Super Bowl. I leave
so
the Super Bowl.
You know what? We might actually call you up, see if you can give us a little ring, and maybe we'll pull you in for a few minutes, and
I'll be happy
see
to
what's
do
going
it.
on out there. Hopefully y'all won't get too crazy out there.
No,
I know
good.
y'all's crew. Y'all get a little wild out there, but
I know the police in that city.
Good. That's perfect. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Let me know the wife has the bar card. She can always come help you.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
All right, we appreciate you guys joining us. We'll be back next week. For Amber Garcia, Brian Broaddus, I'm Derek Eagleton. This has been The Break live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!